Hi everyone, today we are unboxing my dream pen. It's an anniversary gift from my husband. Thank you very much. I know he's probably watching. It's from Yoseka Stationery, and thank you Yoseka for getting it to me very safely, but I feel like I also need to explain why this pen is so special. It is made in Japan by a company named Platinum. This is the 3776 Century called Urushi Maki-e. So urushi is a Japanese form of lacquer made from the Japanese lacquer tree, also known as Japanese sumac or a varnish tree. It's a sap that is tapped from the trunk of this tree by cutting 5 to 10 lines on the trunk of a 9 to 12-year-old tree, collecting the sap, filtering it, heating it, and letting it cure. And it becomes this clear, hard, waterproof surface. So some products that are formed are wooden bins like this. This was gifted to us as a wedding present from my grandparents. And even 25 years later, you can see it acts almost like a mirror. You can see our house in the actual reflection. The Cinnabar Red is the most highly regarded color. And this was a gift from my grandparents to my oldest daughter. She was their first great-grandchild. As you can see, the tray, the miso bowl, and the chopsticks are all done with this type of lacquer. The second technique used on this pen is called Maki-e. The literal translation is sprinkled picture. It's a method of drawing designs with lacquer and then sprinkling the gold, silver, or copper powder on top of them to be highly polished. So one example of this is from the 18th century. The Metropolitan Museum of Art has this on display. It's called the gourd-shaped sake bottle with aoimon, or the family crest, and you can see how vibrant this technique still shows even after this many years. So this version on this pen is hand-painted, not silk-screened. Some of the cheaper pens are silk-screened, but this method is hand-painted. So from Yoseka, they carefully package everything with washi tape. So I'm trying to pull this as gently as I can, and I'm able to save it. I will put it in my journal where I keep all these tapes from them. But they have carefully packaged it, and this type of box is a lot like a jewelry box. So it's really nice of what the pen comes in. So first of all, it has this sleeve on the outer side, and it also labels the exact model. This one is the number 40. That is the Sakura version, and I chose a medium nib. So this model number here is really important to know which model that you're getting and the size nib. So now this case itself flips open just like a jewelry case, and the pen sits in a really nice felted body area. So it's a really nice keepsake case as well, almost like jewelry. So this is where I get really nervous about unpackaging it, taking it out of the plastic. I would say probably the hardest part is actually removing the tag from the pen clip, because I want to make sure I wasn't scratching the pen or anything. But it really does slide off nicely. You just have to give it a good firm tug, and it comes off of the pen clip without damaging the pen at all. But here you can see the amazing sakura flowers as well as the gold trim. And this is what's amazing about this pen. It comes with a 14-karat gold nib. Now the other sentimental reasons for this pen. You'll notice the shape of this nib is shaped like a mountain. This is to depict Mount Fuji, which is what 3776 stands for. That is the number of meters of the height of Mount Fuji. When we lived in Japan, my dad did climb all the way to the summit of Mount Fuji. So this has sentimental reasons to me, as well as the heart, being that my husband got this for me for our anniversary. So on so many levels, this pen is just really special to me. And that's why I chose this one to be my first 14-karat gold pen. Supposedly it writes really smooth. We'll find out here in a few samples on the difference between a 14 karat nib versus steel. And here you can see the Maki-e, and it has this shiny Urushi Laquer on it as well. And it just shines brilliantly. It's so amazing. So this pen, usually most people use it posted because of the length. I'm not sure how that's going to affect this varnish or the Maki-e, so I don't know that I would use it that way as much, but when it's capped, it is 5.5 inches long. So here we have the cartridge. This cartridge is included inside of the box, inside of the pen when it comes to you. It just snaps in here very easily, makes a very subtle click sound, not a loud one, and then everything seals up very easily. So it's really nice. You do not have to buy a separate converter. You can use some standard cartridges made by Platinum if you want things that are pre-inked, but the benefit of this one is you can use fountain pen inks as soon as it arrives. So inside the case, if you take the velvety area off, it includes the warranty card, which is a 1-year warranty, as well as the manual. And this is a ink cartridge that would fit the Platinum pens. I'm not going to use that one. I am going to choose to use the converter with some fountain pen inks instead. Now, some of these tips are easy to read. This is a multi-language instruction card. So the instructions really are just over 2 pages. The rest of the pages in here are just for other languages. So very easy to use, very just standard fountain pen, nothing too complicated as far as cleaning or maintaining this pen, especially since it's a resin body on the interior. So, and with that converter, it makes it very easy to clean this pen. So now if we weigh this, we see it's coming in at around 0.8 ounces. Or if we switch this over to grams, it's at around 23 grams. So when you ink it, it'll probably be around 25 grams is my guess. And when you unscrew it, you can see how short it is. This is it posted. Posted feels the most comfortable to me. But again, I'm a little worried about what it might do over time to the painting and the Urushi lacquer, but that is where it feels most comfortable in my hand. I have a smaller hand than most people, so I can use it unposted, and probably most of the time if I'm using it at home, I would probably use it this way, just so that I don't damage the pen. Those of you with larger hands, it might be more uncomfortable, but in my hand, it sits just right, and it's okay to go ahead and use this unposted. If you cap this pen, it's about 5.5 inches long, but without the cap on it, it's a much shorter body. So I was very careful about what type of ink I chose. It's going to be the Ferris wheel press. The color is called Peter Moss. I picked up this ink sample from Goulet Pens. I chose this one so that it does not clog the pen because it doesn't have any glimmer or shimmer or anything like that. I also picked up this ink miser. I'm going to show you how to use this. It is absolutely amazing. So the first thing I'll do is unscrew the pen and remove the converter. I want to make sure that I know how to use this piston, and I also want to make sure to move it up and down a few times because these usually have some sort of silicone in them, and I just want to make sure that things are running smoothly before I stick it in the inkwell. So you can't see it very well, but here in the center is a little post, and the circle from the converter fits in it perfectly, and you'll hear a subtle click. I had to do this a couple of times because I didn't hear it the first time, but you just give it a gentle push and you'll hear like a really gentle click. So I'm going to pour this ink into the ink miser. So the ink miser is a clear inkwell, so it makes it very easy to see what you're doing with your pen. Also, I feel like I don't get the whole barrel of my pen full of ink by being able to see exactly where the ink levels are. And then I had to go up and down a few times to really get that nice solid fill. But when I finally got the fill, you'll see there's just one little air bubble. This is one of the best converters I believe I have ever used. It fills the ink all the way to the top. But you'll see in my ink well, the ink miser right there, you can see how much ink is still left. It does come with this amazing pipette, and that's what I was able to put back into this ink sample. And it really does like its job describes, so you don't waste a single drop. I was able to get that much ink back into my ink sample, and that's easily going to be another fill on this pen for me. So after I loaded up, I just wiped off the gold nib with a paper towel. There's absolutely no ink on the resin body at all. And then I can just screw the whole pen together. But let's see how this writes. I have some Tomoe River paper that is in this Hobonichi. This is a 2021 day-free Hobonichi, and I thought this page that has some green stickers on it already would be kind of a fun page to do the sample. So again, this is the Platinum 3776 with the 14 karat gold nib. So it's a very smooth writer. I was having to get the ink started a little bit, but not much at all. It is a medium nib, but with Japanese pens, you will find that their nib sizes are much thinner than, say, the European version. So even though this is medium, it really writes more as a fine. So as small as the grid is on this Tomoe River paper, I'm still able to write within the grid very easily because it's such a fine tip. This one does not feel scratchy. This would probably be the smallest nib size I personally would go for on the Platinum 3776. Now, I have seen others that have gotten the bold, and it really isn't bold. It just feels more like a 0.5 line, whereas this one feels more like a 0.38 to me. This feels a lot like the Japanese 0.38 millimeter pens. So if you're needing something to reference, that's probably what I would equate it to. If you have Muji pens in a 0.38, I would say the pen line is about that weight as I'm writing here, but it's not as scratchy as writing with a Muji pen because of the type of nib. This gold, 14 karat gold nib is very smooth, so it doesn't feel scratchy at all. In fact, kind of another backstory of why I chose Platinum is I started by using Platinum Preppy pens. The Platinum Preppy pens have a steel nib, and I forget exactly what their pen weights are, but it didn't make me intimidated to use another Platinum pen, being that I've used the Preppies for about 3 or 4 years now. So this body feels very similar to that, except being plastic. Of course, this is made of much higher quality materials and makes it a very easy write. So if you're just getting started, start with a Platinum Preppy and then move your way up. So this is another beautiful image of what that gold nib looks like, the Maki-e flowers, what the writing sample is like. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the little background story as to what Urushi and Maki-e mean. And if you enjoy fountain pens as much as I do, please subscribe to my Fountain Pen Friday playlist. I'll list that below. So on Fridays when I do post a video about fountain pens, I'll make sure to include it in that collection. I'll see you next time.